So we're going to entitle this talk as Real Talk. Real Talk meaning let's kind of really discuss what's going on with the market and just parts of the economy. And let's just go from there. So here's what I mean by that is, in my opinion, there's pretty much two economies right now. You've got people that are doing really, really well, and then you've got the rest of us. Not saying that we're not doing well, but just saying that, there's some things that are a reality, that the gas prices do hurt, the eggs do hurt, with groceries and everything almost goes up. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience this year, I have had some major increases on things that were unexpected, that were out of my control, but that have to be paid. They weren't things that you could get around or you can negotiate. It's just like all of a sudden, bam, here's an extra amount of money needed for this, an extra amount of money needed for that. And so I can imagine what everyone else is experiencing because I'm experiencing it. But I want to have just a real conversation about a couple of things, because you listen to the news, you listen to financial advisors, you listen to pundits on the stock market, you listen to pundits on the real estate and where we're at and all that kind of stuff. You know what? Analytics and all that stuff are important, but my friends, we laugh, and they really laugh at me when we talk about sports, because that's the big thing right now. Analytics. I mean, I'm an eye test dude. I'm a boots on the ground, strapped up in the fight type dude, where numbers can help you. Numbers can help you with your systems or with your business and tracking things, et cetera. But man, particularly, I'm in real estate, and it's a contact sport. It's a contact sport, man. It's a contact sport to where you have to get out there and see what kind of things you can do to help families. Your numbers can be great, but if you're not helping families achieve their goals, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. So let's just look at a couple of things. We're talking about buyers. So we'll start off talking about buyers a little bit right now. And when I'm talking about buyers, I'm talking about just normal residential retail buyers. I'm not talking about investors at this point. I'm not talking about people buying multi-family or commercial. I'm just talking about your normal, average, everyday person that's just looking at buying a home. I want to tell you something, man, is if you can get in. I mean, really look at the fact that what could possibly happen in the short term? Who knows long term? But what could happen in the short term that it could improve the opportunity for you to get into home ownership anytime soon? So what I mean by that is, let's suppose interest rates do come down. Let's suppose they do come down. But if the prices of the homes don't come down considerably, you're still going to be playing behind where you were a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. What do I mean by that? Meaning that with the amount of inventory that's on the market, and even though there's more than there was, say, this time last year, there's still not enough homes available to make a major dent on what the values of the properties are going to sell for, and the rates are not going to go down so low to where it makes your monthly payment that much inexpensive, that much cheaper. You following me? So again, just imagine if you would have bought 2 years ago, a year ago. You got opportunities right now. There's some good loan programs out there. I know rates are higher than what they were, but to be honest, if you really look at historically, the rates are where they are normal. The 2, 3, 4 interest, 30-year fixed interest rates were not normal. That was an anomaly, and it was not normal. I mean, back in the day, that's where your adjustables started at. 3, 4%, 2.5%, and they'd adjust up but your fixed rate was at 6, 7, or 8%. I remember we had a party when the rates came down to 8% at our office, thinking like how much that was going to help home buyers. Now the prices were a lot less. They were a lot less. But look at it like this. Owning a home, beside the fact that you're owning your own spot, number one is it is like the most major creator of wealth a family has. It's that pillar that gets that legacy of wealth started for most families. And let's suppose that for whatever reason, and you don't want to think of this, but let's suppose that you begin to have some type of financial difficulty of some sort. You own your own home. Now, yes, you've got a loan against it and all of that, but there's some options. Then, it's not like the landlord can come give you a 30-day or 60-day notice and tell you to get out. You've got some legal rights. You've got some legal rights with home ownership and some options to do some things to hopefully get yourself out of trouble if need be. Right? If need be. If you follow, and this is just my opinion, but if you follow what's going on macroly in the world, owning anything does not appear to be what the masses wants us to do. And I say masses, I'm talking about people that really control wealth, people that really control money. When you think about it, think about the things that you don't own today that you always own. Like, for instance, I tell everybody this just this little thing when I'm talking is, how many of you own your own cell phone? Or do you rent your cell phone out every month? You lease your cell phone. How many of you actually own your phone? Now, I own mine, and all of that, but it's so much more convenient to lease it. You can lease your phone and all of that great stuff. And then look, right? How many of you lease your cars? I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but obviously if you're leasing it, you don't own it. Sooner or later, you got to give it back to somebody. Just think of some of the little things or things in your life that you don't own that you would have owned at one point. See, when you're leasing or renting or doing stuff that you don't have any ownership in, no assets, any of that, then you are at the will of someone else. You're at the will of someone else. And whatever they decide goes. That's why you'll hear people say things like, oh, we're all going to be in a society that we're just going to rent and we're going to like it. You ain't got to like it. Get your piece now. Get your piece now and then figure the rest out of it later. Sellers, look, man. Look. I want you to think about it. Look at what property values are. Even if you're not at the top of the market right now for what it was maybe a year or so ago, look at the appreciation you have received or achieved depending upon when you bought your property. Properties are still selling. In most cases, depending upon location, etc., and all of that, it may be taking them a little bit longer to sell. So, maybe there's a little negotiation. So, you are still in a market, in my opinion, overall, that is more favorable for selling your home. I mean, I have been in markets to where I'd have 10 listings and know only 2 of them are going to sell that month. I have listings where the average days on market was 90 to 120 days, meaning that's how long it took for them to sell. I don't know that we're going back to that or any of that sort of stuff. I just know that the days of us having the property on the market for an hour and having 25 offers, those days aren't here anymore either. Does it happen? Is there now that? Of course, depending upon circumstances. But I'm talking normality here, more normal markets. So sellers, listen, man, The days of I don't want to do anything with the physical inspection, or just certain stuff. Things like that. I want the appraisal contingency waived, and things that were happening. The market for that is not there right now. It's not normal. So if you're going to decide to sell your property, in my opinion, you need to sell it, meaning that it's something that you need to do. This is not a test the waters type of market where you just try something and let's see what happens. It's not the market for that. It's not the market to, well, we're going to start a little high and we'll adjust our price if we're not getting any offers. Truthfully, it's not the market for that. I know a lot of sellers do that. I know a lot of agents, myself included, have taken properties that are probably and put them on the market that were a little bit higher than what they should be, under the premise that if we don't get any activity or they don't get any offers, then we'll reduce the property accordingly. Well, what happens if the market does trend down? What happens if the market trends down, and while you have your home on the market and you're a little bit higher than where the homes were selling, and the home's still going down, the gap between where you're listed at and where the homes were selling at widens. See, now it's like you're catching a falling knife. A be honest answer is that if you don't need to sell in this market, you probably shouldn't. It's a be honest answer. So we're just trying to tell the truth today on where we're at. I mean, hey, look at this. Think of this, guys. How many of you guys have noticed that there has been a big difference in jobs? You keep hearing numbers about job creation, this, that, and the other. Then all of a sudden you hear about a Microsoft or an Amazon or somebody laying off like 10,000 workers. I mean, how can that be good? So how can a company lay off 10, 15,000, or even say they're going to eliminate 10 or 15,000 jobs, and AI is going to do this, that, and the other, even though that hasn't been proven yet? That's a whole nother story. But they lay off a whole bunch of workers, and then all of a sudden the stock price goes up. So you mean to tell me, if I tell you and I give you my financial report is saying that I need to lay off 15, 20,000 people, you are going to applaud me for that, and the stock price of my property or my business is going to go up? So let's use some common sense. Now, is that great for the shareholders? Absolutely. But what about the people? If 15,000 people lose their job, and 15,000 people lose their job at this other company, and 10,000 at this other company, that's not good. I don't care what kind of spin you put on it. I don't care what the stock price does. I may have ownership as far as stocks go in that company, which obviously is great for my share price. It's great for my wealth that I'm accumulating, as you should be doing. But realistically, in the market, what does that do for just quote unquote people that are not invested? You know, what is that? I believe it's less than 15% of people in America are invested in the stock market. Like something like 15% of the people. I mean, it's a really low number. It's a really low number considering. So while everybody's jumping around about how great the market is doing, or this, that, and the other, there's a whole lot of people, like most of us, most people, that are not invested at all. Or your 401ks are possibly not performing. That's a whole nother story, right? But the point of what I wanted to tell you guys with this video is things are just not, in my opinion, what they're being manipulated to be and to say. We got a midterm election coming up. So depending upon whether you're Republican, Democrat, and or whatever, there's that whole thing. I'm not telling you who to be, what to do, and all of that. I'm telling you to be aware. As you make decisions for yourself and for your family, you have to be aware of the circumstances and to pay attention. Do your own homework on some of this stuff. Between ChatGPT and Claude and all the other ones, Google still, just between all of the stuff that's out there, if you put a little effort into it, you'll be able to get enough information to help you make decisions on stuff for you and your family. You don't have to become an expert, but you need to at least have some knowledge so that even if you talk to an expert, you'll know what to ask them or you'll know what they're saying when they talk back to you. So that being said, I just wanted to just almost like a little fireside chat. It's the evening, it's a Sunday evening, and I hope that this information is helpful. If you guys have questions, you'd like to discuss any of these items or discuss any of this stuff with me, would love to talk to you about helping you with your real estate needs. And with that, remember this: no matter what you're going through in life, it is just truly a temporary situation, because things do change. And at the end of the day, it truly is. It's a great life. God bless.